Hello there. Today our power went out. So I got an email at I don't know, 11:30 or noon or something like that was like, "Hey, we have major electrical work that needs to be done in the building, like in the electrical room. So your power is going to go out at 12:30 and it's going to be out until like 2 or 2:30 or something." And I was like, "Oh, come on." Like that's not good. Luckily, I have a laptop, but that means the internet is out and all of my business happens on the internet. So I thought, all right, well, what can I do on paper for 2 hours, basically? And I had some CEO work to do. So I had some paper, like pen and paper work that I could do. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be good. It's going to be fine. So I sat down and Ryan had made us some lunch before the power went out. So that was excellent. So I had some lunch and the power actually came back on while we were eating lunch. So it was only like 15 minutes that it was out. And I was like, oh, well, that wasn't so bad. I guess I can continue on with my work. So I'm working away, blah, blah, blah. And then at 2, I had a meeting, like a Zoom meeting with somebody. And so I was meeting with them and then 2:30, just bam, blackout. Wasn't as dramatic as that. The lights just went out and everything sort of went dead. But that means that my internet suddenly went dead and I was disconnected from my meeting with zero warning whatsoever. And then we got an email at 2, like as the power goes out, we get an email. It's like, oh, hey, your power's going to go out. It's like, that would have been good to know in advance. But what this leads me to is backup plans. I run a laptop partly because it does have a battery. So if I lose power, then my laptop stays on and I don't lose anything. If I am on the internet, unfortunately, then my internet goes down immediately and I don't have a backup plan for that. But having backup plans for our business is super important. Big business spends a lot of money on business continuity plans, which is basically like their disaster plan. So I know there was a lot of flooding here last year. That could be a disaster that happens, could be a natural disaster, could be something like your server goes down or like technology stops working, all of that. What are you going to do, or what have you set up in advance to be able to help yourself get through that problem faster and with the least amount of downtime possible? So maybe you're running parallel servers. So if one of them goes down, then you have one that's as close to the other one as possible. Maybe you have backups that are like cloud backups that are happening every day or every week or something like that. I definitely recommend backing up your information and ensuring that the backups are close enough together that if you were to lose power or you're to lose everything to the last backup, that it wouldn't be the huge deal. So if you are like, yeah, I do backups once a quarter, if you were to go down, if you lost everything and you had to input everything for the last 3 months, what kind of disruption would that cause in your business? Would it be enormous? Would it be not that big a deal? I think that's really important to keep in mind when we think about how often we want to do backups, because I've definitely heard from some clients that are like, oh, I only do backups once a quarter because it takes a long time and I don't like doing it and all that stuff. But then 3 months is a lot of information that you've got to input. So yeah, making sure that you're doing backups regularly. If it can be in the cloud, then that's great if you're able to do that. If you have hard copy backups, then making sure that they're off-site. Because if the building burns down, the backups in the drawer are not going to be any good. And also making sure that you're creating backups in places that are not the same place, because if you have a jump drive, for example, that you put backups onto and that jump drive is corrupt, then you have no backups. So you want to have sort of a backup for backup. You may also want to have a location that you can go to, like if you're doing manufacturing or something. I don't have a good example for this, but I was thinking of the company I used to work for in Calgary, where they had a site that necessary employees could go and work at that was in a very different location than our downtown office, so that if something happened to the office, which it did, it flooded in 2013, the whole of downtown Calgary was flooded, those necessary employees could go and work at a different site, and it was all like they could set it up really quickly. So all in all, keep in mind your backup plans. What happens if your technology fails, or if you have no power, or like your disk drive just blows up one day, because that happens. What would you do? What can you do now to try and mitigate that risk later? I took a part of this in school. This was part of the training to be an accountant, was this risk management piece, and like, what do we do when, how can we mitigate this risk and make sure that we're not super affected by it later. If you have questions about this, or you have a story that you want to tell me about it, I'd love to hear that. Leave it for me in the comments. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're not affected by the thunderstorm that's rolling through right now. I'll see you tomorrow.